It's math time with Mr. Musk Ox. He's gonna do the math with you. Today's simplifying fractions. He can do it, and so can you. Yep, it's gonna be that easy, isn't it, Mr. Musk Ox? Yeah, I know. You're so good at this. So today we're gonna be simplifying fractions. I'm gonna use red today, all right? So simplifying fractions is something that we've been having a lot of problems with, and I can kind of understand why. There's a lot of work to it, and we don't necessarily like doing a lot of work. So I want you to remember that math is a building thing. It means that every skill that I teach you will help you do the next skill if you do it well. So in this case, we're looking at simplifying fractions. It means making them easier. Simplifying fractions. That just means that we're taking big fractions and making them smaller. So we're making big numbers into little numbers. Ain't that right, Mr. Musk Ox? Yeah. But I know Mr. Musk Ox has a secret. Don't tell him my secret. I'm going to tell him your secret. Mr. Musk Ox hates fractions. I hate them. I know it's because they're hard, right? Fractions can be hard. It's okay. We're going to learn how to make fractions easier by simplifying them. So let's remember we're going to need to use our divisibility rules. Those will make things easier. We need to know how to divide. That will make things easier. We also need to know how to find multiples of a number because that might make things easier too. And we also need to know how to compare things. So this won't be too bad. We can totally do this. We're going to start nice and easy with the simple one. So let's start with 6/9. So there's a couple of ways that we can do this. I think the easiest way for us to do this would be break it down into steps. Our first step is going to be, we're going to check and see, step 1. Check to see if one number can become another number. So can 6 become 9? No. Can 9 become 6? No. Okay, so that won't work. One number cannot become another number. The second thing we can do is look at them and see if one number will divide by the other number. Will 9 divide by 6? Check to see if one number can be divided by another number. Can 9 be divided by 6? No. Can 6 be divided by 9? No. So one number cannot be divided by the other number. So for 3, we are going to list all factors of the smaller number. So in this case, our smaller number is 6. So our factors of 6 are 1, 6, 2, and 3. So after we've listed all of our factors, we're going to see if the other number has a common factor. So let's take a look. Does 9 have a common factor with 6? Well, 1 will work. Will 2 work? 2 won't work. Will 3 work? 9 can be divided by 3, so 3 will work. And will 6 work? Will 9 divide by 6? No, so 6 won't work. So the only factors they have in common are 1 and 3. So let's take a look. 6 divided by 1 would be 1. We're not going to use 1 because that just leaves us the same numbers, but we can use 6 or use 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So now we have 2/3 because we divided them both by 3. Because remember, anything we do to the numerator, we have to do to the denominator. Anything we do to the denominator, we have to do to the numerator. We have to keep it fair. All right, so we're at 2/3. When we look at 2/3, we have to figure out, will that get any smaller? And it won't. And there's 2 reasons we know that. It won't get smaller for two reasons. One number is prime. Prime means it cannot be divided by anything else except for 1 and itself. That's a prime number. Remember, we talked about primes and composites before. So 2 cannot be divided by any other number except for 2 and 1, which makes it prime. 2 is a prime number. So we know we can't make this any smaller. That's one way that we know one of these numbers is prime. If it's prime, we don't go any smaller. That's as small as it can get. The other way that we know is 2 and 3 are right next to each other on the number line. If you have numbers that are right next to each other on the number line, they cannot be simplified any further. That's as small as they can get. So let's try with another problem. Let's try with 20 and 30. So let's see. Will one number turn into the other number? Nope. Can one number be divided by the other number? No, we can't divide 20 by 30. We can't divide 30 by 20. Won't work. So now we're going to look at our smaller number, which is 20, and list all the factors. So we have 1 and 20. We have 2 and 10. 3 won't work. 4 will work. 4 and 5. 6 won't work. 7 won't work. Oh, we can't go any further because 4 and 5 are right next to each other. So that's going to be our middle. We can't go any further. So now we're going to start with our factors and see which ones 30 also has. So can 30 divide by 1? It can, but we're never going to use 1. It's too small. It doesn't change anything. Can 30 be divided by 2? Yeah, 30 can be divided by 2. Can 30 be divided by 3? Ooh, it can. But since 20 cannot be divided by 3, we're not going to use that number. Can 30 divide by 4? Nope. Can 30 divide by 5? Absolutely. 30 divided by 5 is 6. Can 30 divide by 10? Absolutely, it can. Can 30 be divided by 20? Nope. So we can't divide by any of these numbers except for 2, 5, and 10. Here's the other secret. You're going to divide by the biggest number they have in common. So the biggest same number, or if you remember from a couple of days ago, the greatest common factor. The greatest common factor here would be 10. So we divide 20 by 10 and we get 2. And then we divide our denominator by 10 and we get 3. Uh-oh. Same answer. 2/3. All right. So let's see. Let's move on and try another one. We'll do, let's do 7/21. So first check. Will one number become the other number? Yep. 7 will become 21. How do we do that? It has to be multiplied by 3. So to turn 7 into 21, I would have to multiply by 3. But we want to make these smaller, right? We don't want to have 21, whatever that would be, 21/63. That's too big. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to divide by 7. Divide by 7. When we do that, 7 divided by 7 is 1. 21 divided by 7 is 3. So our answer is 1/3. We didn't even have to write everything out. We can, because the only factors of 7 are 1 and 7, which makes 7 prime. The factors of 21 are 1, 21, 3, and 7, and that's it. But if we look again, the only common factors we have are 1 and 7. And our greatest common factor would again be 7, which is what we ended up dividing by. So that's the rough one. Oh, won't get smaller. 2 next to each other on number line. There we go. All right. So with that being said, let's get to the real work. I'm going to fold this so that you guys can have these rules on the side to kind of help you out. Boop. And boop. I printed off another worksheet, but it was like really hard and I didn't think it was fair to give it to you. I might do that one another time. So Mr. Musk Ox, are you ready? This still seems hard. It's okay. We'll walk you through it. So let's take a look. First, we're going to look at our solutions, the way that we can find a solution. Will one number turn into another number here on 8 and 16? Yeah. 8 will become 16. So all we have to do here is divide both sides by 8. So we have 8/16. We'll divide both sides by 8. And that becomes 1 over 2. Or 1/2. So all we had to do is follow our divisibility rule. One number will become the other, so all we have to do is divide them. Let's look at number 2. 36 and 40. 36/40ths. I don't think 36 will turn into 40, and I don't think 40 will turn into 36. So we can't do either of the first two. So now we're going to move on to rule 3. List all factors of the smaller number. So all of our factors of 36. That would be 1 and 36. It ends in a 6, so that'll be 2 and 15, 16, 17, 18, 2 and 18. Next would be 3 and 12. After that would be 4 and 9. 5 won't work. 6 won't work. 7 won't work. 8 won't work. So all we have left is 9. So we have all of our factors here. So now we just have to compare that to 40. Let's see. Will 1 work? And we'll write these down so it's a little bit easier for some people. 1 and 40. 2 and 20. Boop, 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 boop. 3 won't work. 4 will work. And 10. 5 will work. And 8. 6 won't work. And 7 won't work. And then 8. We're on the other side, so we're done. So let's look for our greatest common factor. We have 1, but we never use 1 because it's too small. So we just won't use 1. 2 will work. They have that in common. 3 won't work, but 4 will work. They have that in common. 5 won't work. 6 won't work. 7 won't work. 8 won't work. 9, 10, 11, 12. Nope. None of these other numbers they have in common. So we're going to need to divide both sides by 4. So 36, 40 divided by 4, divided by 4. 36 divided by 4 is 9. 40 divided by 4 is 10. So that gives us 9/10. We're going to check and see if it can get smaller. Is one number prime? Nope. 9 can be divided by 3, 1, and 9, so that's not prime. 10 is definitely not prime. It can be divided by 1, 2, 5, and 10. So it's not prime. But are they next to each other on the number line? 9, 10. They're right next to each other on the number line. So we know that this is our simplest form. All right, let's keep going. So now we've got 16 and 32. So let's stick with our writing out our factors and figuring out which one is our greatest common factor. So we've got 16 and 32. So step 1, will one number become another number? Will 16 become 32? Actually, it will. If we divide 16 by 16, that gives us 1. If we divide 32 by 16, that gives us 2. That was super easy. But the only reason I knew that was I knew my multiples of 16. And sometimes people don't know their multiples of 16. So let's practice doing it where we write down all of our factors and find our greatest common factor. So the factors of 16 and the factors of 32. 16, the factors are going to be 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 3, nope, but 4. Oop. And it's 4 times 4. I don't have to write 4 twice. I just need to write it once. And then 32, we have 1 and 32. We've got 2 and 16. Oops, see, 16. We've got 3, nope, 4, 4 and 8. Oop. 5 won't work, 6 won't work. Nope, that's it, 4 and 8. So we have 1 in common, but we never use that because it's the smallest. We have 2 in common. We have 4 in common. We have 8 in common. We've got 16 in common, and we've got 32. So it looks like our greatest common factor is 32. So again, 16. 16. So 16 divided by 16 is 1. We know that because they're the same number. And then 32 divided by 16 is 2. So again, our ending factor is 1/2. That's our simplest form. Move on to 14, or to number 4. We have 7 and 14. This is another one of those cases where 1 can turn into the other one. 7 can turn into 14. So we're going to divide by the smaller number. So in this case, that'd be 7 and 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 14 divided by 7 is 2. Gives us 1/2. And again, we can use our greatest common factor. The only factors of 7 are 1 and 7. Factors of 14 are 1, 2, 7, and 14. We have 1 as a common factor. We have 7 as a common factor. 7 is our greatest common factor. So we know we're going to divide by 7. This one, for 5, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to write out all of our multiples. So we have 12 and 24. Let's look for our greatest common factor. It's going to be 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. And we know we don't have any more because, again, they're right next to each other. There's not going to be any more factors there. They're right next to each other. That's it. 24, we have 1 and 24. We have 2 and 12. We have 3 and 8. We have 4 and 6. There we go. So no more because 4 and 6, there's only 5 between them. So we can't do anything else. So let's look for our greatest common factor. 1 is the same, but we never use it. 2 is the same. 3 is the same. 4 is the same. 6 is the same. And 12 is the same. So in this case, our greatest common factor is 12. So then we take 12 24ths, divide 12 by 12, divide 24 by 12, and we get 12 divided by 12 is 1. 24 divided by 12 is 2. And the answer is 1/2. All right, let's try 24 and 30. Again, we're going to write out all of our common factors. So 24, that'd be 1 and 24. That'd be 2 and 12. 3 and 8. 4 and 6. And that's it. Again, this is why you should practice your multiplication table so that you know what's going on. So we're going to do 30. 30 will be 1 and 30. 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 4 won't work, 5 will work, 5 and 6. We know we won't go any further because 5 and 6 are next to each other. So let's find our greatest common factor. 1, that works. 2, that works. 3, that works. 4 doesn't. 5 doesn't. But 6 does. 6 works. 7 doesn't work, 8 doesn't work, 9 doesn't work, 10 doesn't work, 11, nope, 12, nope, 13, nope, 14, nope, 15, nope. Nope, nothing else in common. So our greatest common factor for this is 6. So we're going to divide both of these by our greatest common factor. 24 divided by 6 equals 4. 30 divided by 6 equals 5. So our answer is 4/5. We know we can't go any further because 1, 5 is prime. And 2, they're right next to each other on the number line. They can't get any smaller. This is as simplified as they get. So now we got 7. 7, I'm going to give you a minute to do on your own. Do 7 on your own. It's 2/6. Mr. Musk Ox is going to do it on his own too. So I want you to pause the video. You're going to pause in 3, 2, 1. All right, here we go. So this one's going to be pretty easy. It's 2 and 6. The factors of 2 are 1 and 2. That's it. Factors of 6 are 1, 2, 3, and 6. So they have 1 in common, but we're never going to use 1 because it doesn't change anything. We have 2 in common. So we're going to divide both sides, or both the top and the bottom, by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So our final answer is 1/3. We know it's the smallest form because one of them is prime. 1 and 3 are both prime numbers. They're not next to each other on the number line, but because we have 1 and 3 as prime numbers, we know that's it. They can't get any smaller. So the answer is 1/3. All right, try to do 8 on your own. I'll wait. So try to do 8. 3, 2, 1. Pause. All right, so we have 6 and 30. We already have 30 up here if we need our numbers, but it doesn't hurt for us to practice. So our first set is 1 and 6 for 6. The second is 2 times 3 gives me 6. And then for 30, we have 1, we have 30, we have 2, we have 15, we have 3 and 10, 5 and 6. So again, we're going to look for our greatest common factor. So we have 1, but again, we never use it because 1 doesn't count. We have 2, we have 3, and we have 6. So we're looking for our greatest common factor. That will be 6. So then we just do our division. 6/30. 6 divided by 6 equals 1. 30 divided by 6 equals 5. So our final fraction in simplest form is 1/5. I hope you got that. I hope you got all the check marks for getting that right. If you follow this process, you'll get it right every time. It's a little bit of work, but it'll help you get to the right answer. So, time to move on to 9. You ready? Okay, I'm going to give you a chance to do this. So pause the movie or pause the video in 3, 2, 1. Pause it. All right, let's go. So we have 16 and 24. So let's look for common factors again. 16, we have 1 and 16. We have 2 and 8. We've got 3. Oh, 3 doesn't work. We have 4 and 4. That's it. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. Those are our only options. So let's do 24. 1 and 24. 2 and 12. 3 and 8. 4 and 6. So we have 1 in common, but we never use it because it doesn't change anything. We have 2 in common. 3, nope. 4 and 4. We have 4 in common, so that's a possibility. 6, nope. Oh, but we have 8 in common, so that's a possibility. 12, nope. 16, nope. 24, nope. So 8 is our greatest common factor. So then we do 16 divided by 8 and 24 divided by 8. 16 divided by 8 is 2. 24 divided by 8 is 3. We're going to check. Is one number prime? 2 is prime. 3 is also prime. Are they next to each other on the number line? They absolutely are. 2 and 3 are right next to each other on the number line. So we know 2/3 is our simplest form. All right, last one. 72 and 80. You can do this. You can do this. So pause the video in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, moving on. So we have 72 and 80. Again, we're going to look for our greatest common factor. So 72 is 1 and 72. 2 and would be 35, 36. 3, yep. 3 and 60. So that'd be 12, 24. Yep. 4 and we're gonna have a lot of these. Put these up here. 4 and 18. 5 won't work. 6 and 12. 7 won't work. And then 8 and 9. Whew! Let's write that out a little bit clearer over here. So for 72, our factors are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, 12, 18, 24, 36, and 72. Woo, that's a lot of factors. All right, let's do 80. 80 is going to be 1 and 80, 2 and 40, 3 won't work, 4 and 20, 5, 5, that'll be 50 with 30, so 16, yep, 16. By the way that worked was 80 is the same as 50 plus 30. 50 divided by 5 is 10. 30 divided by 5 is 6. So 10 plus 6 equals 16. That is how my brain does math sometimes. So yeah, that's what happened there. That all happened in my head right now. So we have 5 and 16. 6 won't work. 7 won't work, but 8 will work. 8 and 10. And 9 and 9 won't work because that gives us 81. Whew! That was a lot of numbers, Mr. Musk Ox. Yeah, I know. Okay, well, let's solve this problem now, huh? Okay. So 1 will work, but we ignore it. 2 will work. 3 won't. 4 will. 5 won't. 6 won't. 8 will. 9 won't. 10. Oh, 12. Nope. 16. Nope. None of these other numbers will work. So our greatest common factor in this case is 8. So now we just have to go back and do 72 over 80. Divide both the top and the bottom by our greatest common factor. 72 divided by 8 is 9. 80 divided by 8 is 10. That gives us 9/10. So let's check. Is 1 prime? Nope, neither one's prime. But are they next to each other on the number line? Are 9 and 10 next to each other? Yes, they are. So this is going to be our simplest form, is 9/10. Don't be scared. Again, it looks like a lot of work, but eventually what will happen is you'll start to see little tricks that help you figure out how to do this easier. Like for instance, 80 minus 72 is 8, right? 8 times 9 gives me 72. 8 times 10 equals 80. So I could have known that they were one step away from each other in the multiplication tables if I knew my multiplication facts. If I knew my multiplication facts here, I could say 12 6. 6 will work for both of those because I can take 6s evenly out of 12 and 6s evenly out of 24. That would have given me 2/12, or excuse me, 6/12. And I would have, 6 is half of 12. So it turns into 1/2. So as you work with these more and as you start to figure out these tricks, it'll make things easier. And I think that's where Mr. Musk Ox is having his troubles. He also has to practice his timetables for 15 minutes every day. So try your best. Eventually, we'll be able to do things like these. And if we follow our rules, we could do some of these right now. Here we have 14 21st. 14 over 21. There's 7 between these two, right? So 14 divided by 7 is 2. 21 divided by 7 is 3. Doesn't work for every problem, but it works for a lot of them. So here we have 12 and 36. 12 divided by 12 is 1. 36 divided by 12 is 3. I can divide one number by the other number. It works. So try to do it the long way for now until you start to identify the patterns. When you start to identify the patterns, then you can do crazy stuff like this. But you have to understand the basics. You have to walk before you can run, okay? This is me and Mr. Musk Ox. Hope you keep up your math facts. You need to get really good at math. We love you. We'll see you soon. Bye.